A young lady suffering from a traumatic heart condition seeks overseas medical treatment. El Carlos and people of Combo North District urge the government to stop a Babylon self-proclaimed El Carlo. And still coming up, the World Health Organization clocks 25 years old with a new target of health for all. This and more coming on the World Today newscast. Hello, and you're watching the World Today newscast with me, Yahya Jammeh. Thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Mansata Keita, a native of Toro village in Nyumi, North Bank region, is diagnosed with a severe heart complication called traumatic heart disease and is seeking for financial help to support her overseas treatment. The young lady said she has been battling against the disease for over 10 years and now requesting medical assistance to enable her to recover to a normal life like her peers. Let's hear details of that in this report.
Congestive heart failure is a disorder resulting from any condition that prevents the heart from pumping enough blood to the body. It is often not possible to reverse the changes that lead to the disease, but it is possible to slow down the progression. This young lady here is suffering from a traumatic heart disease, and its treatment is expensive and cannot be cured in the Gambia, but she rather needs an overseas treatment. Namori Keita, a relative of Mansata Keita, explains some of the difficulties she went through while battling her severe health condition.
Mansata has been in this sickness for more than 10 years now. Though she has been going to health centers, clinics to seek treatment, but there was a late diagnosis. So up to late last year, when she started going to MRC, that's where she was diagnosed with rheumatic heart disease, which require overseas treatment, and unfortunately is not available in the Gambia. She suffered a lot. Some of the difficulties are bleeding from the nose, bleeding from the mouth, unable to sleep at night, not able to eat certain food because of the disease condition. And the worst of all is she has not been going to school anymore because of the condition.
Mansata, who stopped her education due to heart disease, said she just wants to be treated so that she could live a normal life.
At night time I cannot sleep, and then so many eat also, I cannot eat it. And then after 3, I cannot eat salt. And then where the people are sitting, I cannot be there. I will be alone. I need your helpness, those who can help me for the sickness so that I can enjoy my life. Because of this sickness, I'll go back to school for my education. Because I like education very well, and then because the sickness destroy everything.
Medical research reveals that the symptoms of broken heart syndrome can mimic symptoms of a heart attack, including chest pain, shortness of breath, diaphoresis, sweating, and dizziness. Before she was diagnosed with traumatic heart disease, Mansata and her family had visited different health facilities to seek treatment, including Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital in Banjul. She was later referred to the Medical Research Council, where her condition was discovered.
What I want to tell to the viewers is that she is my niece, and she is young. She was going to school, and she is not going to school now because of the disease condition. So we are looking for help. Whoever can come in and kindly help us.
Mansata and her family are appealing to the government, NGOs, philanthropists, and individuals to help finance her overseas treatment. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Mansata Keita, they are diagnosed with a severe heart complication, seeks overseas medical treatment. Now, the World Health Organization on Friday celebrates its 75 years of existence as the body responsible for healthcare services assistance to countries around the world. Now, since the Global Health Organization formation in 1948, the world has experienced public health challenges that have required collective work with stance solutions and also solidarity. Now, the WHO now seeks to achieve health for all so that all people on the planet will be able to enjoy good health in a peaceful, prosperous and sustainable world. Let's see details of that in this report by Amadou Kante.
In 1948, countries around the world came together and founded WHO to promote health, keep the world safe and serve the vulnerable so everyone, everywhere can attain the highest level of health and well-being. WHO's 75th anniversary is an opportunity to look back at public health successes that have improved the quality of life during the last 7 decades. It is also an occasion to motivate action to tackle the prevailing health challenges. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, while speaking on the day, noted the vision of the founders, describing it as the highest possible standard of health for all people. He said the world has made significant progress towards realizing the vision.
The WHO Constitution was the first document in history to formally recognize health as a human right. Since then, the world has made significant progress towards realizing that vision. Life expectancy globally for both sexes has increased from 46 to 73 years, with the biggest gains in the poorest countries. Smallpox has been eradicated, and polio is on the brink. 42 countries have eliminated malaria. The epidemics of HIV and TB have been pushed back. 47 countries have eliminated at least one neglected tropical disease.
Dr. Ghebreyesus elaborated on the successes registered in tackling health emergencies like the creation of the vaccines for Ebola and COVID-19. However, the WHO chief says the world still faces both new and old challenges.
Just in the past 5 years, new vaccines for Ebola and malaria have been developed and licensed. And for the past 3 years, WHO has coordinated the global response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the most severe health crisis in a century. We cannot claim sole credit for these achievements, but we have played a leading role in all of them. And although we have many achievements of which to be proud, we still face many challenges, some old, some new.
During the commemoration, the WHO launched a new campaign to improve emergency care training for nurses and midwives. According to Dr. Tedros, nurses and midwives play key roles in emergency health situations.
WHO also today launched a new campaign to improve emergency care training for nurses and midwives. Nurses and midwives play a key role in emergency situations. When emergency care is delivered well, the chance of surviving an injury or life-threatening illness increases dramatically, while the risk of a long-term disability is significantly reduced.
The newly launched campaign called 25 by 25 by 25, and the goal is to support 25 countries to train 25% of their nurses and midwives in WHO's basic emergency care course by the end of 2025. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Amadou Kante.
The World Health Organization Day on Friday closed 75 years of existence with more achievement of health for all. Now, mass job cuts and business closures have torn Kenyan employers to embark on more temporary employment contracts than permanent jobs amid the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, more than 28% of Kenyan citizens are working in casual jobs, according to last year's survey conducted by the country's central bank and its partners. Now, despite the initiated measures to maintain the business sector, the small-scale and medium businesses that operate in Kenya's informal settlements have experienced significant reduction in profits and income due to the decline of business handling to the closure of many enterprises. Now, let's see details of that in this report.
Patrick Ouma, who has enjoyed the benefits of a permanent job, is now forced to adjust his way of living after his employer decided to delist him as a permanent employee, and now he earns per appearance. What he used to enjoy is now a thing of the past.
I have been forced to cut on so much at times to even a meal a day. The quality of food has also gone down in the house due to the current pay I get. I have to adjust to feed my family because of the harsh economic environment. I have school fees. I have to send money to my parents up country and so much.
According to a survey done by the Central Bank of Kenya and its partners called the Phoenix's Household Survey of 2022, 28.5% of Kenyans work in casual jobs. That's slightly more than a quarter of the working population. Casual employment lacks benefits like pensions, health insurance, and other compensation.
The Kenya Federation of Employers say that productivity is now the main focus for many employers, as most of them in these industries are trying to work with lean numbers.
We had to look at how to renegotiate contracts, and the law actually allows parties to a contract to renegotiate and see if salaries could be reduced or people could earn less, so that people don't lose jobs, but together we share the pain and earn less. And actually that was done in very many cases. Unfortunately, in some cases there were redundancies, there were exits, because some enterprises closed.
Data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics shows that there were 18,332,800 employed Kenyans by the end of 2021, up from 17,406,700 in 2020, when there was a decline in employment as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic's negative impacts.
The reality is that we are not out of the woods yet, and as we grapple with this combination of factors, there is still pressure on business, and that is then reflected in us trying to get some flexibility in the terms of employment, the terms of engagement that we have with our employees, because we've not been able to create the kind of and the number of jobs that the economy needs, not just the nature of work, because we talk about decent work.
For Ouma, he hopes that one day his employers will reverse his contract back to a permanent worker despite the harsh business and economic environment.
Mass job cuts there and business closure have torn the Kenyan employers to embark on more temporary employment contracts than the permanent one due to the impact of the pandemic. Now, Nigeria has registered a significant increase in its crude oil production in the first quarter of 2023 as the West African nation earned an amount of $3.9 billion from the sale of its crude oil in March 2023. This came as the country attained its crude oil production target of 1.6 million barrels per day in March from 1.3 million barrels per day recorded in February. Now, experts, however, observed that the government has to augment its oil production capacity to be able to finance its country's budget. Details of that in this report.
Nigeria has announced an improvement in its month-on-month crude production for the first quarter of 2023. That means more earnings from crude oil exports. The country generated a total of 1.8 trillion naira, which is equivalent to $3.9 billion from the sale of its crude in March 2023. That's 337 billion naira, or $725.5 million higher than the February earnings.
It will help us in funding our budget and tackling some other micro and macroeconomic issues. We're able to improve investors' confidence in the sector. As equally an OPEC, a cut in OPEC quota, which in essence, what they want to achieve with that is that they want the oil price to go up. And so when that happens, maybe to 90 or 8 dollars per barrel, or 8.6, that will equally increase the revenue Nigeria generates from oil.
Nigeria also met its self-set production target of 1.6 million barrels per day, an increase of 300,000 barrels per day from February figures.
What they did right was the new strategy that NNPC employed to protect the oil pipelines to also ensure that there are always surveillance on our pipelines, just to checkmate issues of oil theft is working, and it's helping us to meet our production quota. It's not like we were not producing in the past, but now we're not producing, and they're able to checkmate and see that it is going out, in the right way.
Nigeria is pushing to ramp up production to 1.8 million barrels per day this second quarter. Experts say the nation would need to produce around 2.2 million barrels per day to fund its budget. Maintaining the gains would be largely dependent on blocking oil theft and implementing the Petroleum Industry Act.
Nigeria was registering a significant increase in its crude oil production in the first quarter of 2023, which earned the West African country an amount of $3.9 billion from the sale of its crude oil in March 2023. We'll take us to a quick break, and we'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Eyeafrica Global is the first and biggest private real estate developer in the Gambia, with a presence in 7 other African countries. We are launching the development of the first smart and most modern office and retail towers in the Gambia, called TAF Twins, located in the heart of the Kanifing institutional area and 10 minutes drive from Banjul. TAF Twins is designed to have 5 floors of office spaces ranging from 50 meters square to over 1,000 meters square, 2 elevators, central air conditioning, 24-hour electricity and water supply, with the ground floor reserved for banking, supermarket, restaurant and coffee shops. For your bookings and reservations, please call now on 376-2333 or 776-2333.
Welcome back from that break. You're still watching the World Today newscast, and now to more stories. The alcalas of Mandinari, Makumbaya and Kombo Kerewan villages in the Kombo North District West region have renewed their call on the Gambia government through the Minister of Local Government and Lands to immediately stop one Lamin Jaju from proclaiming himself as the alcalde of Babylon, thereby unauthorizedly selling land to people in these latter villages. Now, the village heads held a press conference on Saturday to bring the issue in the public eye and urge the government to take actions. Let's see details of that in this report.
The long-standing alcaleship role between Lamin Jaji of Babylon and the village heads of Mandinari, Kombo Kerewan and Makumbaya remains unresolved, prompting the authorities of the said villages to call on the government to intervene to avert further complications. The disgruntled alcaldes of Mandinari, Lamin Kerewan and Makumbaya claim that Lamin Jaji is selling people's land all in the name of being the alcalde of Babylon. Alhaji Fasise, the alcalde of Mandinari, said Lamin Jaji wrongfully took the village's farmlands and declared it as his own.
The problem is about somebody who came, just jump on 3 villages' farmland and said he owns those lands area. That is Lamin Jaju. So this is the thing that brought all these problems. Because Lamin claimed himself as the alcalde. So that is the government's business. But our problem is he is scrapping people's land. Grabbing people's land and selling them. And he pretends himself that he is not selling. He chooses among the authorities whom he allocates land to them free, people's farmland. So on this broad problem, it was around since 2006, I believe, then when he had problem with the people of Makumba. Lamin himself is not an original citizen of this area.
While chairing the meeting, Alhaji Mane from the Mandinari Mane Kunda also questioned the authenticity of Lamin Jaju's claims to be the alcalde of Babylon.
Lamin is claiming ownership of Babylon, where does it originate? And every compound is neighbors with another compound. Every village neighbors with a village. But Lamin is claiming the lands of these 4 villages as a settlement just years back. Where does he get that ownership from? I think this is my point of contention here, and it requires clarification. We are urging the authorities, because this matter has been reported to the all relevant authorities. There is nobody who has not been aware of this incident. Commissioner Sani has already stated, the police have the written. It's true. If you want to offend the law, they will come and arrest you. And that they have done. Lot of damages have happened here. They have gone to the court. Nothing has happened.
Mr. Mane believes that there has been something fishy in the initial attempts of addressing this prolonged land-related dispute. He also stressed that he has lost his trust in the country's judicial system concerning this matter.
The judiciary process, I'm very distressed. I don't have confidence. Cover me. I don't have confidence in the Gambian judicial system because my case is in Brikama Magistrate Court. They spoiled my fence and the accused were identified. Nothing has been happened. The police arrested them, handed them over to the law, but nobody has been prosecuted. So there are lapses somewhere. Somebody is not doing his work somewhere. And we want to address this matter once and for all. Because we are all aware that Babylon doesn't exist. And Lamin is not an alkali of Babylon because he has no history. So that is a clear evidence. So let the authorities take their step. I'm telling you, sometimes when I talk about Babylon, I get annoyed.
The Alcalos and their people were expecting the authorities responsible to take a stand and solve the matter. According to village elders, Babylon is not a village, and Lamin Judge or anyone else doesn't have the right of claiming to be the Alcalo of Babylon. They said the unlawful declaration and taking of people's lands within the villages of Makumbaya, Mandinari and Lamin Kerawan should be stopped immediately. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
Alcalos of Mandinari, Makumbaya and the Kombo-Kerawan villages in the Kombo North district have renewed their call on the Gambia government to immediately stop one Lamin Chaju from proclaiming himself as Alcalo of Babylon, thereby unauthorizedly selling people's land in the latter villages. Now, still with the news, food security impacted with load shedding escalating as South Africa enters the summer crop planting season, having local farmers worried about the prevailing situation. Now, scheduled blackouts, rather known as load shedding, have burdened Africa's most industrious economy for years, with state-owned energy ESCOM failing to keep pace with demand and maintain its aging local power infrastructure. Let's hear details of that in this report.
South Africa's agricultural sector is heavily reliant on electricity. It was a stressful time for farmers when the country hit stage 6 load shedding a few months ago and plunged the country into power cuts of up to 12 hours a day.
Our irrigation systems were completely under strain when we had to pump water. We didn't have the water because of the load shedding. So then your crop, you lose the crop because you can't make wet when it needs to be wet, irrigated when it needs to be irrigated.
If you think about the primary level of agriculture, about all of our fruit and vegetables is irrigated. And if you think about staple grains, about 20% of the maize is irrigated, half of wheat is irrigated, and also about 15% of soybeans is irrigated. So when you have interruptions, the impact is quite heavy.
Robbie Boardinghouse lost a third of his wheat crop in December, but is still expecting good maize and soybean harvests.
It's a very short period that everyone has to get the crop off. And that's why it's necessary for the silers and everyone to be prepared and not to have to worry about the load shedding. And I mean, that goes with extra implications, new generators, bigger generators to be able to run this stuff when ESCOM is on load shedding.
A slight let up in power cuts, good summer rains, and measures including cuts in diesel levies for farmers and power usage has assisted in limiting disruption to food production.
So that has assisted to ensure that facilities that are crucial for food security are not completely offline, because we can operate our food facility as long as there is no power for maybe 2 hours a day. The minute it goes beyond that, it becomes an issue.
With modern farming practices ever more reliant on electricity for crop irrigation, processing and storage, load shedding is having a huge impact on agricultural output. The good news for South African consumers is there will be enough food on the shelves, but extra costs incurred by farmers to keep operations going means that consumers will have to fork out more for their groceries over the next few months.
Food security impacted with load shedding escalated as South Africa enters the summer crop planting season, leaving local farmers worried about the prevailing situation. Brings us to the end of this edition of the World Today Newscast. For more news, visit our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram at Eyeafrica.tv. You can also visit our website on www.eyeafrica.tv. I am Yahya Jammeh. Thanks for watching and do enjoy the rest of our programs.